Hi, I'm Tori, and I am a doctor of physical therapy who specializes in pelvic dysfunction, and I think that pelvic health and pelvic issues should both be more openly discussed and widely understood because everyone has a pelvis. So today we are going to talk about defecation syncope, aka fainting during or soon after a bowel movement. Now, I do think that this is more common than is reported in the literature, so if you experience this, know that you are not alone, and I think it may be more treatable than we realize. So let's make sense of it together and then talk about potential ways to intervene. First of all, fainting or syncope is caused by decreased blood flow or lack of oxygenation to the brain. And that's why some people faint after they lock their knees and stand for a while. You only have so much blood in your body at any given time, and it's constantly circulating and delivering oxygen to different bodily tissues. So when you stand and lock your knees, you can actually constrict the veins that live in your legs, causing the blood to pool or collect in those veins, which eventually decreases your blood pressure and decreases the circulation of blood and therefore oxygenation to the brain. And then you pass out. But what mechanism causes you to faint exactly? What connects the circulatory system and the nervous system in this way? Something called the vagal response, which is where the vagus nerve, the part of your parasympathetic nervous system that regulates the blood vessels and the heart, responds to a trigger by slowing down your heart rate and widening the veins in your legs. Now, you can physically trigger this response via the circulatory system by doing something that promotes the collection or pooling of blood in the legs, as seen in our knee-locked example. However, you can also trigger this response via the nervous system, via intense physical or emotional stress. Think trauma or shock or fear or pain. This is why some people faint at the sight of blood. So why would a bowel movement cause someone to faint? Well, straining or bearing down like this can physically trigger the vagal response, just like locking your legs can. So improving stool consistency, avoiding straining, and sitting properly on the toilet to poop can absolutely help mitigate this kind of response. But what if you aren't straining? Well, it's important to consider someone's history. Why couldn't the vagal response be triggered by fear or other emotional stress in this scenario? What if someone has a history of trauma related to their pelvis or their bowels? Could we treat the trauma to mitigate this response? The connection between the intestines and the parasympathetic nervous system is undeniable. If intestinal dysfunction causes vagus nerve hypersensitivity, well then could we aim our intervention towards improving that intestinal dysfunction and improve this response? What if we're wrong about the vagus nerve ending in the abdomen, just like we were wrong about it ending in the chest? What if it extends all the way into the pelvis for some of us, which could explain some untraditional pathways to orgasm, by the way? Well then, could we mitigate this response? Could we improve these symptoms by treating dysfunction in the pelvis, by treating pelvic floor impairments and other musculoskeletal impairments around the pelvis? These are just hypotheses, but in the same way that we are constantly learning that the body is much more interconnected than we previously believed, perhaps the body is much more capable of healing than we currently believe, and its ability to heal hinges on our acceptance of its interconnectivity so that we can intervene in different ways. After watching this, if you have a gut feeling, pun intended, about an out-of-the-box mechanism that might be at play with your defecation syncope, pursue it, because no one knows a body like the person living in it. And in the interim, if you start to feel faint while you're on the toilet, either spread your legs and put your head in between your knees, or better yet, if you can, lie down, get off the toilet, lie down flat on your back and rest your ankles on the toilet seat. Both of these actions promote blood flow and oxygenation to the brain, and they can prevent fainting. And even though cleaning up a mess can be embarrassing, it is so much better than accidentally hitting your head or another part of your body on the bathroom floor. On that note, thank you so much for watching, and please do be sure to join me on the 10th and 20th of every month for future pelvic PSAs with surprise PSAs on the 30th, where I attempt to discuss an interesting pelvic health or pelvic issue related topic in 5 minutes or less. See you next time.